Welcome back to the shop, guys. I know you guys are real familiar looking at my YZ125 two-stroke here. I have that bike in a lot of my videos, but I have added another bike to my collection. A 2021 YZ125. This video is just an introduction video on the next two videos I'll probably be doing. Most likely two videos on setting up a bike when you first bring it home, getting it set up for you to take out. I typically like to buy my bikes, if I don't get them brand new, I like to pick them up almost brand new. This one has 9 hours on the clock, 9.6. Now it's just an hour meter, so you don't know if the person's lying or not, and some people don't put hour meters on a bike. So there's some things that I look for to verify that it's really at, you know, the hours match what they say. One thing I look for is original back sprocket. Hopefully it still has the original back sprocket on it, which this one does. This one still also has original chain on it. Another thing I look for is original tires. When I see original tires, original back sprocket, original brake pads, stuff like that. Then you look for general scratches and stuff like that. This one has a few scratches in the pipe here. It's not bad. Just a few right here in the cover. I'm sure I can put that many scratches on in 9 hours. So seems like a legit 9 hours. Original front tire as well. The only thing that's really been changed on this bike is the handlebars. They put a set of twin wall handlebars. Not a bend that I prefer. This is 998 bend, and it looks like this grip was changed right here. So I don't know, maybe he dropped it and bent some bars, and because that's still the original grip on this side, so maybe he dropped it and bent some bars, I don't know, but them bars on it. So before I run through the list of parts that I've already ordered for it, and some of them I already have right here on the bench to show you guys, and before I tell you what I plan on doing to this bike in the next coming video 2 or 3, I'll take a minute to explain why I chose the 2021 YZ125 over the 2022 YZ125. My wife's bike is YZ125. 2019, it's crammed right here behind my YZ250. It's the number 25 here, but this is her YZ125. And on this bike, I have some stock YZ250 two-stroke springs on it, which is a .44 in the front and 4.9 on the back. Otherwise, and besides a quick twist throttle and some handlebars, it's a stock bike, and a Shorty Silencer Pro Circuit. Otherwise, it's a stock bike. I was at 74 last weekend, and I spent all day on this bike, and as well as a 2022 YZ125. I was comparing the two. I was riding the same YZ125, the 2022 that I did the 2022 review on some time back, and the one that also had I did the repair for the shift detent spring that Yamaha did eventually recall after I made the repair. I made a video on that as well. But that was the bike that I was using, which is a bone stock bike. So I compared that bone stock bike to her bike, which has some springs in it, and the Shorty Silencer. Now this bike does come sprung one size firmer than the previous model, the 2021 and older model. This one comes stock with a .42 in the front and a 4.8 out back, but it also comes with revised valving that's a little stiffer. So overall, the suspension on this one the overall firmness felt very similar to her 2019. So that it made a really good comparison. But after riding them back to back, I kept preferring her bike better, the 2019 better. You can watch other video reviews. There's a guy on YouTube, if you haven't found him yet, called Motohead. He does he has quite a few YZ125 videos. It seems like he used to race them professionally in Britain or whatever. He was like their 125 champ or whatever. He's an older guy, vet rider now, but really good information. And it seems like he kind of comes up with the same outcome that I came up with after riding both the bikes, although he does, you got to read between the lines on him a little bit, just because I think to some degree he's still sponsored by Yamaha. So he's putting the truth out there, but he's doing it in a fashion that you got to kind of read between the lines. But this bike, it's mainly top end. Like, it has really good top end, but down low, now it hasn't been jetted or anything. Like he even said, you can jet it and get it better, but still, even after jetting, it doesn't quite have the mid-range thrust that the previous model had. It does have a little bit more top end over rev, But it reminds me a lot of the older, the RM125s, where they had a really good top end and top end over rev, but below that they were just kind of long and flat. Throughout the mid range and upper mid, they're kind of long and flat. Where this YZ just 125 just feels very YZ-ish, you know, which means that it kind of makes power everywhere. The throttle is crisp no matter what RPM range you're in. You could be on the bottom or on the top. It's going to feel crisp and clean. And the thing with this bike is, if you shift it too soon, coming out of a corner, let's say you're in second gear, you go for third gear and you shift into third just a hair bit too soon, or you're in third and you go to fourth and you get there too soon and you kind of fall off the pipe. On a good 125 like hers, I'm not saying hers is better than that one, but what I look for in a 125 is whenever you fall off the pipe because you shift too soon, a quick just jab of the clutch, and it hangs right back up into the power band. It jumps back into the power band and it hangs there. You don't have to feather it and kind of work it in. You're not, and just kind of work it back into the power band. Just a quick jab's all it needs, and it's right back on the bubble and going, so you don't have to sit there and fumble and fool with it because you have obstacles to worry about. You don't want to be paying attention to the clutch for too long. This bike didn't have that ability. If I fell off the pipe, shifted too early, I had to feather the clutch to get it back up into the meat. I couldn't just do a quick jab, and that's how the old RM125s were as well, so that's why I kind of compare it to that. And you know, I don't really like that in a 125. I like to just do a quick jab if I fall off and I'm right back in the bubble. I'm sure with some modifications, like I mentioned, Motohead, you can search for him on YouTube. He did actually buy the GYTR kit for a 2022. He has a 2021 and then he has a 2022, and he did the GYTR kit on it, and it does make more power up top, and it sounded like in his video, sounds more powerful without a doubt. But he still kind of, if you read between the lines, he's still pretty much saying that it still has the same characteristics, it just has more power, but it's still like the same characteristics in the motor. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad bike, and maybe in the future I will own one and I'll see what I can do with that one. But why I was already favoring the 2021 just based on how it feels, I checked for parts availability, and as of right now, the crankshafts for this bike, the 2022, are currently on back order as I make this video. They're on back order from Japan, and that was a deal breaker for me. Anytime a bike has parts on back order, it's a bummer. I don't like to set my bike aside and ride another bike for a while waiting for a part to come in. It could take months. I've seen it take as much as like 5 or 6 months before for back order parts. I don't like that. So that was kind of the deal breaker. Now I will also say there's a big tabletop at the track I was riding at, Family 74. There's this really huge tabletop up front. Some people call it a triple. I don't know, it's a big tabletop if you ask me. But on this bike right here, I was able to cleanly get the downside. I'd come out of the corner in second gear, hit third, hit fourth, hold it pinned and forward all the way up until I was in the air, and I would cleanly get like the good bottom part of the downside. Where on the 2021, I would do the same exact thing, and I would actually get like the top of the downside. It didn't quite take me quite as far through the air. So that kind of led me to believe that for some reason, this bike was tugging me along quicker, faster, for whatever reason. Now, again, like I said, it does have a Shorty Silencer on it, and that does improve things. But, you know, I just, that was the information I have. So, and I just, overall, I felt better on this bike. So I've chosen to go with this one. So, which is why I picked up this one, the 2019. I'm sorry, 2021. Like I mentioned, I like to buy bikes. If they're not brand new, I like to get them almost new because I don't like a bike that's already been messed with and molested. I especially do not like to pick up a bike that's already been revalved. I like to bring them home where they're like, it's a clean sheet. I know what I have. I know what I'm working with. It hasn't been molested or tinkered with. You know, I'm not going to run into bolts stripped out, or where they misplaced the bolts and put another one in its place, or they took all the wiring harness off and they put it back on, but now it's not in the stock location anymore. I don't like that stuff. I like to get a bike that has not been wrenched on yet. And from what I can tell on this bike, the only place it's been wrenched on is some handlebars installed, and it looks like someone adjusted the rear chain maybe one time. So this is a good bike to start with. So let me go ahead and run you through some of the stuff I got for it and that I'll be getting for it. First off, I got a set of tires for it, you know, because these are MX52s, I believe they came with. Yeah, 52s. I got these Bridgestones, these X20s here. This is what I originally had planned to put on the bike. However, after weighing them, this front tire alone is almost 1 pound heavier than the GeoMax MX33. So my brother's interested in buying these. I ordered up some MX33 tires front and rear. I'm just going to go back to the MX33s instead of the Bridgestone because I do not like adding any weight on a 125. A pound here and a pound there, that's 2 pounds. I'm not down with that. I got to keep her light. It's only 125. Got to keep it as light as I can. So luckily for me, he's interested in buying these tires. And I have another set coming, so I'll be putting some GeoMax MX33s on her. I also picked up I already opened the package here, but it's a G2. See right there, G2. It's their quick twist throttle. So you don't have to open the throttle up you don't have to spin the throttle as far to get the full throttle. I put this pretty much on all my two-stroke bikes. Like I have one on my YZ125 here, as you can see. They're always clean. I mean, as long as you keep them clean. Very, very free spinning throttle, nice and smooth and crisp. When you put them type of throttles on, because it less twist to get this full throttle, it does make the throttle a little stiffer to turn, because now, you know, it changes the ratio between how much you have to twist versus how much you have to fight that spring to open it full throttle at the carburetor. So I do make some adjustments to that spring inside the carburetor. Stay tuned for the next video or two when I put that throttle on this bike. I'll show you what I do inside the carburetor to keep the throttle from becoming stiffer, keep it nice and crisp. But yeah, so we have that. Then of course I'm putting some frame guards on it. Got the Asorbis frame guards here. The main reason I put these on is not really so much to protect the frame, but just to give my boots a little bit of something to grab on. You see them right here. So that's why I like to put that. It just gives me a little more traction. I like to feel the bike. Got a brand new Wiseco piston to put in her. I choose Wiseco pistons because they're forged pistons. They're not cast, so they're far less likely to break on you. Right now, that's, you know, stock piston in there. It's a cast piston. I won't even take them out and ride them on the stock piston, because if it does break at the wrong time, I don't want that happening. I've broken too many cast pistons years ago, and I'm done with them. I don't even ride with them. I just so yeah, it's getting the top end before I even take her out. It's getting all this work done before I take her out. Of course, it came with these. I won't be using that. This is the O-rings for the head gasket when I do the top end, and the gasket for the power valve, and the cylinder base gasket, OEM parts. Then springs. I'm going to start with the same spring rates that I had my Weiss bike. I really did enjoy it with the 4.9 on the back and the 0.44 up front, the stock YZ125 springs. Luckily, I was able to round up these springs. This is not a race tech spring. This is just a stock OEM YZ125 spring. A friend of mine that I did the video to a while back of how to change springs on your YZ, I called him up and he still had the springs on the shelf. So I was like, sweet, can I buy them from you? He said, you can have them for free. I was like, awesome. So I went and picked them up that evening. So I got the 4.9 for the rear. It's an OEM Yamaha spring. Set that aside. And I had the 0.44 up front, the stock YZ Yamaha YZ125 strings for the front. Yes, it does come in the factory connection box, but that's because that's what I put in his bike, and I just put his stock springs in here. So I was able to go pick them springs up. Now, I will say, when I was riding her bike, it felt good with the 4.9 in the back and the 0.44 in the front, but I felt like as I stayed on the throttle longer and longer and longer, I felt like the rear could maybe go up one rate for me, especially once I start doing some modifications to the bike. I do plan on doing the head mod to it later on. So I'm going to need a stiffer spring in the back probably at some point once it starts making some more power. So I got this 5.1 titanium spring. This came stock on the YZ125F. I forgot what year exactly. I think it was like 2006. I don't remember. But it is a 5.1 spring, and it has the markings for it and everything like that. And my brother, I picked this up from my brother. He also rode on it for me, so I would know what it was. But yeah, this spring is it's almost 1 pound lighter than the steel spring, so it's not a huge weight savings, but there is a little bit of weight savings there. Because, I mean, anywhere you can save weight on 125, they're already light as far as handling is concerned, but anywhere you can save a pound or two is going to help, because, you know, they only have so much power. Some people call them underpowered. I wouldn't really call them underpowered. They just don't have a lot of torque. They make pretty decent horsepower, but anyway, the lighter you can keep them, the better off you're going to be. So if you start putting in heavy duty inner tubes, steel sprockets, O-ring chains, heavy tires, and stuff like that, you're gonna kind of bog your 125 down if you keep adding that stuff. As I've heard someone say before, if you don't count the ounces, you'll be crying. No, if you laugh at the ounces, you'll be crying about the pounds. Anyway, some other stuff I had planned to do tour, it just hasn't arrived yet. I have a set of twin wall bars coming in. The bend will be 999. It's the same bend I use here on the YZ bike. It's a shorter bend than what I would run on the YZ250. Now, I didn't choose a shorter bend because it's a smaller motor, so lower hand. No, the reason I chose it is because if you put these two bikes side by side, you'll notice the YZ125's front end is taller than the YZ250. And the reason being is the head angle. They got the same forks, the lengths of the forks are the same size front wheel, pretty much the same triple clamps. But the difference is the head angle. You'll see the head angle on the 250 is more raked out, and the head angle on the 125 is more, it's inward, more. It's a steeper head angle. That steeper head angle actually causes the top triple clamp to sit up higher, because obviously if you stood it straight up like this, it would sit tall, and as you lean it back, the front is going to get lower and lower. The handlebars are going to get lower and lower to the point you bring it to the ground, obviously. So with that having a steeper head angle, the handlebars are actually a little bit lower, the top triple clamp and handlebars, than on the 125. So that's why on the 125 I run a slightly lower bar to keep that same triangle when you're sitting in the seat here, how it feels between the pegs, the seat, and the handlebars. Keep that same triangle. I use a shorter bar for the 125 than I would on the 250. I also have some stock YZ grips. I like to use the OEM grips. Some people claim they're too stiff, and maybe they are. For you, they don't bother me. I try not to hold the bike too tight anyway. But the reason I use the stock grips is because the ends don't get ripped off when you drop it in the corner. They stick around for a long time. You can get like about a good year out of a set of grips, and they actually get better with age. In my opinion, they get stickier and kind of softer. But when we go to put this bike together, I'll show you how I do the safety wire. I mean, I'm sure most people know how to do that. But another thing I have coming for is a Shorty Silencer for now, a Pro Circuit Shorty Silencer, like on my wife's bike here. So I have a Shorty Silencer coming. I'm going to stick with the stock pipe just for now. Down the road I will be trying out some pipes, but for now I'm going to start with the stock pipe. And lastly, I have a brand new head coming for it, cylinder head, because I will be modifying the head right here in the shop, just like I did on the video. If you watched my video on the head modification, I'll be doing that for this one. Yes, I could just buy a head from there's what you got, Apex heads, and you have a few other head companies out there I could be buying a head from and just bolt it on and go. But I do like, I get a satisfaction of doing my own head, plus I can fine tune it for exactly what I'm looking for. So, you know, if I take it out and I want a little more top end, I can come back, make some changes, or if I want a more low end, I can make changes without actually having to buy a whole new head from a company that sells heads, or the dome for the head, which even then there are big jumps. If you go from an SX dome to an MX dome, I mean, that's a big change in the profile. Sometimes I like minor changes just to get it exactly where I want. So I'll be doing my own head. So that's what we'll be doing. So, and then obviously, like I said, putting the springs in. The beauty of it is I have her suspension set up real well. So all I have to do is copy her settings. And once I put the springs in, copy her settings and put them in here. And on the first day at the track, she should be pretty much rideable right away. If I feel like the rear end's a little bit soft for me, I can try out this spring. But yeah. Oh, I almost forgot. Got a whole bunch of jets too. I'll be making some jetting changes as I go along. I mean, I have the same jets that I have in her bike to start with, but I know that I'm going to have to make some jetting changes, because on her bike I run about 40/1. For me, on a 125, I'm going to be running, what is it, about 26/1, I think. It's 5 ounces of oil per gallon. And I'm also going to be running some race fuel in it. So I'm going to be using a little bit different jetting than what she's currently using in her bike. So I picked up a variety of brand new jets for her. I do have jet kits with jets, but when I'm setting up my own personal bike, I'm just not testing jets to see what fits. I like to just start with new jets. Just, you know, they're not like what you know, when the surface starts getting dark on these jets and stuff, and you know, just new jet, man. I just feel better about it. And graphic kit. I'm gonna make it a twin of the 250. I'm going back to the same old 1996 replica, although it will have black backgrounds for the number plates, but otherwise it's gonna look just like this one, but with black backgrounds for the number plates. Some of the changes that are different between that 2018 and 2021 is they went to blue number plates back here, the plastics blue, versus that one being white. This is also a slightly different number plate than the older one. But they also went to black fork guards. The older one had white. But yeah, got a graphic kit for her, so we're going to be doing all this in the next, like I said, probably 2 videos, maybe 3, as I get this bike ready to get taken out to ride, get set up for me. My goal is on the first day that I take her out that she's pretty much almost perfect, especially since I have a bike right there, my wife's bike, to go off of. I can copy her suspension settings, and I already have a general idea of what I'm dealing with and which route to go. So I have a little bit of history with the bike, and I have some experience. So on the first time out, she should be pretty damn close. Sure what I'm going to start with first. I'll probably start with the top end first, and that's pretty, you know, easy, and then probably jump right into suspension and then go from there. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. Appreciate you watching this. Hope you have a good weekend. I'm gonna be riding Dade City Motocross tomorrow. I'm taking out the YZ125 Smoker. It's gonna be a good time. They have the extended track open. That track is always fun. So be safe, guys. Catch you later.